Hello and welcome to the Captain Bob podcast. This week we have our friend Dominic.
Hello.
We're just going to chat a little bit about how he got started in flight simulation and all of the wonderful things regarding that. And let's get right into it. So, Dominic, how did you get into aviation?
So, the way I got into aviation, Leo, if you're watching this is all your fault. No, the way I got into aviation is my cousin brought a drone, a DJI Phantom 3 to be exact. He bought a drone, and I don't know why, but he let me fly it on the first day he got it. That got me into drones, so then I got my own drone, and then drones slowly pushed me into aviation, so that's how I got into aviation. I also started using flight sim around, beginning of 2018. So yeah, that's how I got into aviation.
Okay, so you got into aviation 2018?
I think so, yeah.
Sweet.
2018 was kind of an approximate guess. It was around that.
Yeah.
Late 2018, early 2019, something like that.
Honestly, I couldn't give you an estimate either. It's kind of all fuzzy for me, and I don't know if that's for you too.
I mean, I know exactly how I got into it. I just don't remember exactly when.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's see. What cool simulator stories do you have?
Simulator stories. I don't have very much, but so I first bought Microsoft Flight Simulator X in, again, I don't remember the exact time, but I bought that in December of whatever year. And we went for Christmas that year, we went out of town. We went to Mexico that year. And Leo, I had convinced him to buy it and get a joystick as well, the day before we left. So we both brought our laptops, and I mean, around, during the day we'd do what the hotel had to offer and what was around there. But after the sunset, we'd just take our laptops out, go into that common area, and we'd just play Flight Simulator for 5 hours.
That sounds
a lot of fun.
Awesome. And
then that got me into X-Plane, and that got me into FS20, but then I went back into X-Plane.
Yeah. Actually, that brings up a good point. What are your reasons that you kind of prefer X-Plane over FS2020?
So the reason I prefer X-Plane over FS20 is because X-Plane has an excellent flight model. Obviously, it depends on the aircraft. I shouldn't say manufacturer. The aircraft creator for the simulator. It depends on them as to how realistic their flight model is. But, for example, the Zibo, most of the, Aerobasque stuff, a lot, Flight Factor too. Their products have been really great, and not sponsored, I swear, but their products have been really great, and that's what keeps me in X-Plane. FS20, I mean, the graphics are amazing. They're incredible. I really don't see how they could get better, but the flight model is not that great, and for the airliners, because I like flying airliners more than I like flying a GA.
Absolutely. So kind of just a combination of how real the experience is, even if it's not the prettiest.
Yes.
That's good. This is kind of a fun question. What do you prefer to do? Do you prefer to build your flight simulators, or do you prefer to just fly them?
So if you know me well, then you know that I do not like building stuff. I should rephrase that. I like building stuff, but I will build it halfway and then put it in the drawer with the rest of the halfway built projects. I do prefer flying the simulator because, as I said, I really enjoyed the flight model of most of what X-Plane has to offer. And so I like building. It's just I never finish anything.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of in the same boat with not finishing things. I have, I think, I have 3 version 1, or 3 halfway built simulators, and I'm working on the 4th one.
Nice.
Hopefully this one will finish.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes down to personal preference when it comes to, if you think the flight model will be more realistic, or, flicking all the buttons.
Mm-hmm. And, as you know, I started a FMC project, and this one was going really well. I thought I was going to finish it. I didn't, and I probably should finish that one because I really like the FMC. It's a 737-800 FMC, and I found the files for it on Thingiverse, and I'm like, why not? It just takes 3D printing time, not much else. I moved around my room or something. Like, I moved my desk around and then lost it. I didn't lose it, but, like, it got put somewhere that I forgot about it then. Should probably go get that back up and start it because, I mean, it's not going to take very long to build. It's not going to be very hard to build. I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
But knowing me, I won't.
Yeah, there's definitely, that's definitely a factor, too. Yeah. So, this is kind of just a fun question, too. I guess I might say that about all of them. But, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Either flight sim or actual flying. That's really about it.
Nice.
Yeah, I love using flight sim. Every once in a while I'll play some games on my computer. But other than that, it's flight sim or flight school.
Yeah. Okay, so you're flying the PA 160 and the 180?
PA 28 160, and I fly the 180 every great once in a while. And what was the question about it?
Actually, I don't know. I just kind of asked that one out of the blue.
It's a Piper Cherokee 160, and every once in a while the Cherokee 180. They're great aircraft. I like them.
And why is it not a Cessna?
Because my flight school, the only Cessna they have is a twin engine, and you have to have a commercial license to do it.
Definitely. How many times do you go flight training? Oh.
Generally twice a week. I'll be up in the air for about 1.7 hours, so almost 2 hours, twice a week. That's adds up to about 4 hours a week. And yeah, I'm just kind of like going through as quick as I can to get my private pilot license. After that, I plan to go get my commercial, and then my ATP, and then go into an airline.
Excellent. What airline do you want to fly for?
That is a great question. So we'd have to be more specific about that. Are we talking like American airline, or what airline do I want to finish with?
What airline do you want to go to from finishing your ATP, and then what airline do you want to eventually land at?
So finishing my ATP, I'd like to go Southwest or United, or maybe American or Delta. After that, I plan to move to Europe, and so I would likely end up flying for Lufthansa, but I would like to fly for Alitalia. The problem is, some of these airlines don't have the aircraft I like, and that will come up on that question soon.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. If they don't, they might eventually phase into them. But what is your favorite airplane?
My favorite airplane? How did you know? A350. I generally like Boeing more, but the A350 is my favorite airplane because it's, I wouldn't say simple, but it's like modern. It's quiet most of all, and I don't know. I don't know what I like about it. I just really like the A350. Generally, I like vintage airliners. Like my favorite airliner overall. Obviously, I won't be able to fly this. The reason the A350 is my favorite airliner is because may realistically be able to fly it. But my favorite airliner overall is the MD-11 because I like vintage-ish airliners like Trijets. For me, that was the golden age of aviation.
Yeah, those are really fun to fly, or in simulators, of course. I haven't done that legally yet.
And if any staff on Rotate are watching this, please hurry up.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like Airbus because they're a little more modern, and it feels like they're evolving more and introducing more tech. Boeing kind of feels like it's just fixing its own problems from 50 years ago a little bit.
Yeah, I still do like Boeing more, but it's got its issues for sure.
Yeah, once they do like a second release and stuff.
And I mean, of course, so does Airbus and every other plane manufacturer. But Airbus, they're not focusing on old problems. If there's a problem that it'll either be too expensive or too long to fix, Airbus will scrap whatever they're working on and create a new system for it. Boeing will continuously try and fix it.
Yeah.
And I mean, nothing wrong with that, but it takes time and money.
Definitely, that's a good point. For it's just kind of the different theories behind the company. Like Boeing really kind of wants the pilots to like have force feedback, I guess,
And I do like that.
I like that too. And then Airbus kind of has the side stick, which is less kind of like, I guess, traditional.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are definitely different parts to both of the companies' like theory.
The only thing that really pushes me away from Airbus, well, actually, there's two things. The simplicity of it. I, for some reason, do not like simple airplanes. That's why my favorite one's the MD-11 overall. But the main thing that pushes me away is their controls. Of course, with direct law and alternate law in the Airbus, if you don't know what that means, it's basically where anything you do with the side stick will happen to the airplane. So if you pull back all the way, it will go back. The elevators will go full up. But normal law is where you kind of have control of the airplane, but you can't, like, force it to dive. It will not. It will, like. Oh, how do I explain this? It won't let itself stall. It won't let itself go up or down too far, and it won't let you overbank it. I mean, I understand, but it's a computer, and things can go wrong with computers. And generally, it would be safer if the pilot got to override the airplane's decision.
Absolutely, that's a really good point. Like the kind of computer versus
man versus machine.
Yeah, man versus machine. It's kind of interesting to see everyone's different viewpoints, because humans make mistakes, of course, but also machines don't make mistakes, which is potentially fatal.
Yes. Because, like, I don't know airline procedures, so this could be completely wrong, but in general aviation, there's an emergency descent where you bank it at 45 degrees and pitch for, at least in the Cherokee 160, 120 miles an hour. That could be, I mean, I don't know how you would go about an emergency descent in an airliner, but if you suddenly need to do that in a Boeing, you could do it instantly. I mean, you'd have to disconnect autopilot, but that shouldn't take any time. Whereas Airbus, you've got to, I don't actually know how you go to direct law. I think you have to turn off one of the ADIRUs, but I could be completely wrong about that.
It's all French to me, so you're good. But yeah, that's a really good point. You kind of do this. I always write these in like a super crafted order, but then when I go through them, I just jump around and miss like half them probably. Ooh, here are my 2 movie questions because these are fun. What movie character do you love that is not a main character? So like a sidekick, I guess.
That's a great question. I don't watch a lot of movies, so I don't know. I would not be able to answer that.
It doesn't even have to be a sidekick. It could be like the
Favorite?
like just a background character.
I don't know, honestly.
I don't know. I was gonna say Mike Wazowski, but he's kind of a.
Oh, I thought you meant aviation movie.
Oh no, it doesn't have to be aviation.
Okay. Yeah. Now that you say that, absolutely Mike Wazowski.
See, I was gonna say the lady who's like, "You forgot to file your paperwork."
Oh yeah.
She's funny.
Yeah.
She's also epic. She's like a superhero, I think. Oh, that's my like demon word. Okay, so it was like I have to cut out of every video, and it annoys me to death. And the second movie question is, what's a movie you would repeat over and over and over, but it doesn't have to be your favorite?
Well, the one I'm about to say is my favorite movie, Ford versus Ferrari. It is by far my favorite movie.
I'll have to watch that one.
Such a great movie.
Wow. I need to write that on my like to-do list. Actually, I'm going to edit this, so it will be. Boom.
All right.
That's the power of the future. That's amazing. And then, you already answered how you got started in flight simulation, but how did you kind of like take your first step towards building your FMC?
Well, I really like 3D printing. So, and I don't like designing stuff for 3D printing because I don't know, it just ends up not printing right, or takes too much time. So I went on Thingiverse and just typed in 737 because I wanted to print something for 737. And I found every file for the FMC in the 737. And I'm like, ooh, I could build this. So yeah, that's how I got started in building that. And then I also found a printed circuit board for the FMC that will plug directly into your computer. Makes it even better.
Nice. Yeah. I think a lot of times when you're like kind of getting started building, like, I guess you haven't been building flight simulators specifically for like years, but you've done a lot with Arduinos and robotics.
Yeah, I build a lot of stuff outside of aviation. Mostly Arduino stuff, but it can really anything, like computers. I love building computers.
Oh yeah, and you helped with mine.
Yes.
Just gotta get a CPU.
Yes.
Oh, that'll take a while though.
Maybe.
We're still working on that. Yeah.
The graphics card will take a while.
Yeah, I'll get that like March of probably 5 years from now.
March of 5 years.
But don't worry, my simulator won't be finished either, so I don't think it'll ultimately matter.
Just don't break it.
Just don't break it. Both the simulator and the computer.
Oh yeah, life hack for any of you watching. And if you like buying graphics cards and reselling them at a higher price, mute your sound because I don't want you to hear this. Wednesdays at Best Buy, you can usually go to Best Buy on Wednesdays and they'll have some graphics cards. They won't have the newest ones because they're sold out everywhere. But they may have some new-ish ones, like the 2080 or something. Wednesdays at Best Buy.
Wednesdays at Best Buy?
That's when they get their shipments.
Okay, you can unmute now, but how would you know to?
Unmute.
Just like, raise it up. I don't know. Oh, and if they're on the podcast version, they probably can't even see.
That's true.
They're probably listening anyways. It doesn't matter. So, I should really, like, check these off or something, or have them, like, double spaced. We do have a pen. Whew! This is exciting. You can just, like, yeah, we did all of this. We're good to go. I don't know, I'm marking it off so weirdly. Ooh, how do you learn, like, new skills? This is...
In aviation, in, like, flight sim?
Yeah.
So, when I want to learn to fly something, or I want to learn how something works, generally I'll get that airplane in whatever sim it's available in, so usually X-Plane. And I'll, like, start it in as cold and dark, sit in the cockpit, and not leave my computer until I figure it out. Usually it takes, like, 20 minutes for me to figure it out, so I can fly a lot of Boeing aircraft. And I learned it entirely by just sitting there and hitting buttons until it worked. So, like, whenever I do my flight sim stuff, I don't follow checklists, because, I mean, what's the worst that happens if you crash?
Yeah.
Your computer's going to crash. That's the worst that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in flight school, absolutely follow checklists. Also, I am not a CFI. Do not listen to me for flying advice, unless you're using a simulator.
Brilliant. They should make, like, simulator CFIs, so, like, CFFSI or something. It's got to be super clunky so no one can say it right and you can just laugh at them.
Do not take me for actual flying advice. That is my disclaimer. But you should, regardless, use checklists anyway. But in flight sim, I don't use checklists. I just do it entirely by memory. And my procedures, I have no idea if they're correct or not. It works, though. So, yeah.
Sweet. What was... Oh, yeah. Make sure... Yeah, just trial and error.
Yep.
Trial and error. That's how I learned heart surgery. It's brilliant.
Wait. Yeah, like... But once you learn... At least the airliners... Once you learn how to fly one of them, they're mostly the same. Like, they've all got Well, most of them have batteries. Usually APUs, pack fans, hydraulics. They're generally the same. So once you figure one of them out, you can figure the rest out fairly quickly. The one thing I do not ever do is use video tutorials, with the exception of the Calimata Concorde. That thing is extremely complicated, and I could not figure it out.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting how video tutorials kind of have a place, and then how they also really don't. it's kind of funny because I'm making my video tutorials, but then everyone will like follow them to the letter, and I'll like if I make a mistake, I like send thousands of people or like whatever on, and I'm like, it's just bad. So make sure you like understand it, of course.
Yeah, you don't want to start a project that you have
Yeah.
no understanding of unless it's like a beginner thing. Like that's why I started with Microsoft Flight Simulator X. I mean, it's if you've seen the default 737 from it, it is absolutely for beginners.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun to fly. Until I discovered the Zibo.
Yeah, the Zibo is a good airplane.
It is. I don't know how it's free.
Me either. It's one of the mysteries of the mind.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite parts about the Zibo?
Favorite parts? That's a great question. I don't know. I just like the whole thing overall. But, like, the sounds are great, first of all. I would say it's realistic, but I've never flown a 737. It feels realistic. It feels like you're in an actual 737 when you're running through the procedures and stuff. The procedures.
Yeah. That's definitely good. Or good. I don't know. I always say sweet or nice or that's good. But that's awesome. Oh, and what is your favorite airport? And what's your favorite route? Those are, I guess, two different questions. So
my favorite airport is LIRF, Rome Fiumicino in Italy. But my favorite route is from Denver to Chicago O'Hare. Because it's a shorter route, and I have the SIDS and stars memorized for it, so I don't need to spend time going and looking at charts. I can just take it in any airline.
Yeah. I think it's good to have just a route that's kind of shorter, so you can. It's kind of versatile, I guess.
Yeah,
and
every great once in a while I'll do a long haul, but I've done like 4 of those ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I use my computer for more than just flight sim, so it's annoying to leave it running.
It is. It takes up a lot of resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to just have a flight that's kind of shorter, and then you can. I don't know. You just have everything memorized, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Like, I think I can speedrun the 737 in, like, with the IRS alignment set on, I think, fast mode for however long that takes in the Zibo. I can speedrun from gate Charlie 33 to runway 34 right at Denver, taking off. I can speedrun it in, I think, 8 minutes.
Oh, wow. That's a record. I don't know. I can't taxi that fast. Woohoo! Oh, we are on. Oh, we just did that one. That's awesome. We hit like 2 birds with 1 stone or something. But don't throw rocks at airplanes, people.
Please don't.
Or don't throw quarters into the engine either.
Please don't. It does not bring you good luck. It brings you very bad luck.
Very bad luck. Yeah. Oh. What is the coolest skill you've learned so far? And it doesn't even have to be in aviation. It could be like slacklining hanging from your tongue or something. I don't know.
That's a great question. I would probably say it would be aviation. It would be like general flying an airplane, like pull up to go up, push down. I don't know. I learned it through Flight Sim, and I'm not saying to use Flight Sim for training, but I'm saying that it helps if you've never flown a plane before. Like on my first flight, I got to land the plane. It was a Citabria. It was a lot of fun to fly. It was extremely hard to taxi though. But yeah, Flight Sim was what taught me like the general dynamics of flight.
Sweet. Yeah. Flying is also a cool party trick. You can be like, yeah, I'm a pilot. And even if they're pilots too, they'll think it's cool because they'll also find that they're pilots.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You'll keep each other occupied on yourself for like an hour.
Actually, now that I think about it, back to one of the earlier questions, how did you get into aviation? I take back what I said about Leo. I mean, he did still get me directly into aviation, but many years ago, like I think it was 6 years ago, I was at the Fort Collins Loveland Airport for an air show there, and they had a bunch of planes. I had no idea what they were. I didn't care for aviation at the time. And I remember they had a little like flight sim demo, and they had like it wasn't a full motion, but it was like an enclosed simulator. I got to try it. Of course, I've crashed because I didn't know what I was doing. But I asked my dad, "Hey, can we get one of these?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we got it. I never used it because I could never figure it out. And then back in 2018, 2019, whenever I started actually trying to figure it out, and I figured it out, and it got me here. Along with Leo. Thank you, Leo.
Thanks, Leo. Brilliant. And when you said you got a flight simulator, I assume you didn't get like a $12,000
No. We just got FSX on a laptop.
Sweet. Do you have any controls for it at the time?
At the time, kind of. I wasn't able to use any of them.
This brings us to our next question. What are a few skills or traits that you wish you had?
Outside of aviation, I wish I could speak any language.
That would be cool. Including like animal languages?
I mean that'd be neat too, but what I meant was every international human language.
Oh. I know. I just like to see what my chickens are saying. But yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, that would come in super handy, especially if it would kind of even intertwine with pilots because you could make all the PA announcements too.
Yeah.
Easily.
Ooh, that's something I got to think about too.
Oh yeah.
I just give it to the captain.
Yeah. You got it for the first like 2 years, and then you become a captain, and you're like,
First officer.
First officer, yeah. Why did it take me so long to read that? Yeah. What makes you a unique person?
So, I think that when I do become a commercial pilot, I would like to continue flight instruction. Just because, like, I mean, as you know, we've had a pretty big pilot shortage, at least in the U.S., even before COVID. And with COVID, they laid off tons of pilots, so it's going to be even worse by the time I'm applying. And I think that flight instructing, you got to get people into the profession and get more pilots out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Increase the competition.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm sure and I don't really want robot pilots. That stresses me
I
out.
don't either. Like, even single pilot planes, I don't like. Well, I mean, like, single pilot airliners. I would not feel comfortable on a single pilot airliner. And it takes a lot for me to not feel comfortable on an airliner.
Yeah.
Unless the seat's not comfortable.
Mm-hmm. It just kind of comes down to, like, the redundant systems. And when you get rid of a pilot, there's only one left. And
yeah. And I mean, like, there's a YouTube video, and it was what happens. It was an American Airlines video. I don't remember why they made it. It may have been training. It was in a simulator, so obviously no one was hurt. I mean, they still landed safely. But what happened was they had an engine 1 fire, and as you know in the MD-11, the second engine is on the tail, so behind the other 2 engines. And the engine 1 fire kicked up a bunch of debris from the engine and put it into the number 2 engine, killing that engine. So they landed the MD-11 it was on final, of course, too. And they had one engine, number 3 engine, and they landed it safely. And where was I going with this?
Oh, why do not like single pilot planes?
Right. If you watch that video, you'll see the first officer doing. I mean, you saw the captain flying the plane, but then you saw the first officer doing so many other things, and he was acting so quickly. I just think it would be unrealistic to have one person do all of that.
Yeah. Especially for like normal operations, of course, I think it would be possibly practical. Mm-hmm. But for emergency situations and even like different situations, like landing on a different runway than you're used to, things like that, it really helps to have another human you can interact with.
And this brings up another point, where between the DC-10 and the MD-11, for example, fuel dumping. I saw this in an ad for the MD-11. Yes, an ad for the MD-11. To dump fuel in an emergency in the DC-10, it took, I think, I could be wrong about this, but I thought it was 27 button actions to dump fuel. In the MD-11, it takes 1.
Oh, wow.
So that is an example of simplifying, not getting rid of controls. So, like, I mean, as long as you can stop it and, like, it stops itself. Oh, how should I word this? Let's see. It's a simplified control. There's only one button pressed to start and stop dumping fuel. It's very simple. It takes less time, and it's good because that can be used in an emergency very quickly. And it also eliminates the need for a flight engineer, which the flight engineer is the last person you would take out of the plane. I would not, again, as I said earlier, I would not want less than 2 pilots in there. The flight engineer just adds more redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it still takes some time to start dumping fuel, though. So simplifying the controls is different from getting rid of some controls and having them do it entirely automatically.
That's a really good point. Yeah, simplifying the controls, I think, is kind of more of the future than just like entirely robotifying it.
Yes.
And automating it. Yeah.
Well, that brings up another thing, again, is that if you simplify these controls, it will save a ton of time, but it can be dangerous. For example, there was a plane I flew once. It was a Cherokee 180. It was a 1978 Cherokee, and it was a very nice plane. There was a problem with it, though. The avionics switch was stuck on. It was, like, not exactly shorting, but it was bridging a connection behind the switch, which, as long as you turn on the switch, you'll be fine. But if you leave the switch off and you're like, oh, it's fine, the avionics are already on, that can be dangerous because now you have sparks behind the dash, and that could lead to an electrical fire. When you have one switch for all these avionics and say it failed to the point where you couldn't turn them on, you have no avionics whatsoever. Whereas in the Cherokee 160, you have to turn on and off each individual section of the avionics, like the radio, the transponder, the intercom. If you have an avionics switch failure in that, well, there is no avionics switch, so you can keep all your stuff on, or say the transponder fails, not everything else is going to fail.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There are sometimes simplifying things too much can be devastating.
Yes.
Okay. I think I might already know the answer, but what is your dream job?
This is a great question. Very simple answer, too. I want to be an airline pilot. Almost any airline, but, I mean, I have, of course, some of my first picks. Airline pilot along with a flight instructor. If something goes wrong and I can't pass my medical or something, then I plan on going into the mechanics side of it.
Yeah.
So that I have to finish the project.
Yeah. If you become an airline mechanic and on airliners, then I expect you to finish your FMC.
Yeah. Well, when I'm working with people on something, I'll finish it every time. It's just that when I'm working by myself, I'm like,
Yeah.
I have something else I could use.
Yeah, there are a lot of, like, teamwork really helps with that, too.
Yeah.
Woohoo! We're knocking through these, and I think we're giving pretty good answers.
Yeah.
High five.
High five.
Yeah.
I think it was this.
Oh yeah. Who are your heroes?
Good question. Generally, when I look for, like, aviation advice in becoming a pilot, I look toward Mentor Pilot on YouTube or Discord, Facebook, whatever he posts on, usually YouTube. Because he gives really good advice, and he's just, like, everything he says, it's, like, really inspiring, too.
Yeah. I think he's one of my heroes, too, because he doesn't... a lot of people are on, like, one side of the spectrum where they'll either say, you can always do it, and there are no problems, just follow your dreams and potential. Mm-hmm. And then there are some people who are like, you are a failure, you will not accomplish anything.
See, Mentor's right in the middle, though.
Yeah.
He's like, there are going to be problems along the way. You have to push through them, though.
Yeah, and I think his logical approach really helps with a lot of the kind of things you wouldn't really think about, too.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, I look at his videos, and I'm like, he'll do aircraft stuff, like pointing out stuff on the 737. I'll be like, I didn't even know that existed. That's cool. And then he'll post other videos, like inspirational videos. It's like, I gotta push harder for this.
Yeah. I really like his videos because I don't think I've ever gone through a video of his without learning something.
Yeah, same.
Except for his Patreon welcome page.
Yeah.
I don't think I learned a lot from that, but
Same.
But that's just a promotional one, so we're good. Yeah. Mentors, great example. Ooh, anything you would like to talk about? This is your time to like go on about cheeseburgers with or without pickles.
Simulators and using them for training. And are they a simulator or a game? The answer is kind of complicated. Or at least this is all in my opinion, by the way. Most of it. For example, you should not ever use like X-Plane 11 on your computer as training software. As like, I mean, you can learn from it, absolutely. But you should not use it and take these procedures into any real aircraft. It's not going to end well if you do. No matter how realistic the plane is, it may not end well because, of course, you have in real aviation like airspace, you have emergency procedures. Because like if your engine blows up in the simulator, who cares? But if it does in a real plane, it's something completely different. And this brings up the thing, is it a simulator or a game? If you have it installed on your computer and you're using like a yoke or something with it, it's a game. Most of it can be installed on Steam. It's a game. But if you're in like a Class Delta full motion simulator, that is absolutely a training tool. Like, I mean, they use it for training. And they know what the airlines, they know what they're talking about too. That's a simulator, not a game. If you think that's a game, you're completely wrong.
Yeah. Oh, must mean I'm kind of pretty wrong. I mean
Class Delta, like certified by the FAA.
Mm-hmm.
As in like, because they're making simulators now that you can go in them and build up actual aircraft hours. You don't need to have an actual airplane to fly. You can get your private pilot license you can get your commercial without flying a single plane ever. I think.
I think you have to fly.
I think you have to do it for the check ride.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, you can do your check ride in a simulator, which is kind of sketch.
Yeah, and I mean, like, flying, I've never tried, at least not in a while, I've never tried a Class Delta simulator.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but I've really only done it on my computer. And it's a different feeling. It's completely different flying a real plane. Even if that plane is a little Piper Cherokee versus a 737 on your laptop. It feels like you're just, like, out there. It's a great feeling flying an airplane.
Yeah. There's so many different things with flight simulators versus real simulators that you can't possibly in a lifetime model every single molecule of the surface of the airplane, of like friction drag, all the aerodynamics that go behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that we haven't even discovered that likely play into effect.
Yeah.
And it just takes so much computing power to get everything completely accurate. It's nearly impossible.
And I mean, like, I don't usually do this, but every once in a while I'll do failures in X-Plane. And, like, an engine failure on the ground or an engine fire on the ground, something like that. Well, when you have, say, the engine fail in run-up, which has happened to me before, and by fail I mean, like, the magneto blew out, it's completely different. It's not like, oh, you just reach around, click the, I don't know. It's different. You don't exactly memorize everything as you would, because, again, as I've said, if the engine blows up in a simulator, who cares?
Yeah.
If it blows up in the real plane, well, that's an issue. It's a really big issue.
Absolutely. Yeah, that just is kind of cool to see that it's good to practice failures in a simulator, but they're not completely real.
And I mean, even in the Class Delta simulators, the full motion ones, a failure is still not going to be the same thing. Like, it's the plane's going to act the same as it would in the real plane in a Class Delta, but you're not going to feel the same because your life is not in danger in the simulator.
Mm-hmm. There's the pressure too.
Yeah.
that brings us on to the next question. What is your greatest personal achievement?
So far, it's getting my student pilot license. I've been wanting to do that for a really long time, and I finally did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's fun to just, like, pull out at parties.
Yeah.
Like, ha, look at me.
Look at what I got.
You got your medical and all your, like, paper and your radio.
It's something with pilots is the first thing you'll know about a pilot before you know their name is that they're a pilot.
Hello, what's your name? I'm a pilot. It's Trevor.
Look at what I got. I got a private pilot license.
I asked your name. It's relevant. Don't worry.
It's on the license.
It's on the license. Yeah, read it. Basically, yeah. That's good. It's really fun to fly. I've done it.
I've never flown a Cessna, though. I should try that one time.
Yeah, I'll have to bring you up if I finish before you. Probably not, though. Okay. Oh, I keep not Xing them out. What a fool. What character traits would your friends best describe to you?
Aviation nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a lot
not
of
a
my
bad
friends
one.
don't enjoy aviation. I mean, there are some exceptions, but, like, it's just not their favorite thing. And I really like aviation. So, yeah, I'm aviation nerd.
Awesome. Let's see. And do you prefer to work alone or on a team?
On a team, absolutely. I'll get a lot more done if I work on a team, and I can work a lot faster on a team.
Yeah. Except for when the team doesn't work.
See, I actually learned about this in one of my engineering classes, is that introvert and extrovert generally do not mean what you think they mean. Extrovert generally means you can work better around people, even if you're not in a team. And introvert means you work better alone. So in that sense, I am absolutely an extrovert. I like working in teams, even if they don't do anything. I just like working with people. I'd rather have them do nothing and me do everything than me do everything by myself, because I will get more done if I'm working in a team.
Yeah. And the pressure also comes into factor with that. So a lot of the introverts, I guess, have more pressure, or like they're good at motivating themselves, I guess. And then extroverts kind of can use the pressure from their teammates to kind of help push through.
What about you for that?
Intrextrovert. I don't know.
Omnivert.
Omnivert.
Yeah, that's the actual name for it.
That's so much better. Intrextrovert. Just sounds like you had a
stroke.
Yes. Omnivert. I think that's me, because I enjoy working in teams, but I've also kind of worked alone on my like simulator so long that I kind of developed the skills to work alone.
Yeah.
I work alone. I don't know.
Yeah, if I have like 3 other people help me build a simulator, even if they do nothing, I'll get it done.
Oh, sweet. I'll come over tonight.
Good to know.
I don't know. Actually, tonight, do I have anything? Probably not. I could. Could get that FMC hashed
I'll let
out.
you know.
Sweet. Oh, and then this is my favorite question, because it just lets your imagination go wild. What if you had 100% unlimited resources, like Tony Stark hooked you up with his checking account? What would your simulator setup look like?
My simulator setup would take more electricity than it would money.
Ooh.
I would have everything from the 707 to the 787, and that's Boeing series alone. I would have like as many aircraft as I can fit in there, all full motion class Delta. That's what I would do if I had unlimited money and resources, and that's what my simulator would look like. You would be able to walk into it and think it's a real plane.
Mm-hmm. And I guess attention to detail would be cool.
Absolutely,
for that
too.
Yeah. Would you want to, would you want to like tweak them to like get them as best as they can, or would you like to just fly them and like kind of accept them? Or
so
both?
if I'm at the point that I have that big of a simulator and that realistic of a simulator, and it still had some bugs in it, I would probably work on the bugs more, because obviously it's not a real plane. As I said earlier, you don't get the full experience, but I would still want it to be as realistic as possible without having to go buy a 737.
Yeah. I can't believe no one said that yet. And no one's just said a real 737. Because that would be totally cheating.
No, not for me. I mean, if you gave me one, absolutely. But that's not what I would go for. Because, again, I am entirely self-taught on the 737 along with most other airliners. And I don't know if I should carry that over into the actual plane.
Yeah. You could probably... If you were going to get a 737 for free, I imagine it wouldn't be too much of an investment to get, like, a type rating, though.
If you have that much money, then go for it.
Go for it. Oh, and then the last finishing stinger question, I guess, is, what is one word to describe yourself? Or a phrase, I guess. It doesn't have to be a word, because a word could be like, hi.
That's a tough one. I actually don't know what that would be. Yeah, I don't know.
Excellent phrase.
There we go.
I don't know. That is a fun phrase. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be answered, though. You can write your own story.
Yes.
And figure it out later.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to say to the camera? You are being watched. Beware.
I think I've covered everything that I have to say.
Well, yeah. None of us are certified flight instructors.
Do not take this for flying advice unless you're using it in a simulator.
I'm certainly not, certified in anything but, I actually am CPR certified, so...
Nice.
So if you need that, hook me up.
I'm a student pilot, not a CFI. Don't take my advice in the real plane. If you want to take it in the simulator, go ahead. I'm not responsible for broken computers, though.
Yes. I really need to find a cool outro. Yeah. Be like, and thank you for watching the video.
Listening to the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for Dominic coming out.
Yeah, no problem.
Didn't your car freeze?
It was frozen shut this morning.
Oh, no. But yeah, thank you so much for coming even through that. And
well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And we'll see you on the next week's episode of the Flight Simulator podcast, or the Captain Bob podcast. Not quite sure what it is yet. Bye, everyone. See you later. Have a good one.